It's nice to be hosting you this beautiful evening. Thank you very much for those who are live right now and those who will be watching this live after it is uploaded. So, in today's discussion, we're going to talk about and examine Rumi's perspective on hardships in life. But the point that we are going to go through is given that the hardships and Rumi's perspective on it is quite deep and requires lots of attention, and it is quite important, especially in this day and age with all the things that are happening. I think I wouldn't be doing justice if I just added one live discussing this or one video discussing this. So there will be a series of videos about hardships, suffering, pain in life, specifically from Rumi's perspective and from other thinkers' perspective, but mostly Rumi. So in this, because this is the first episode, the first video of this series, what we are gonna do is we're gonna talk about a very specific aspect of hardship, the hardships um, that we either choose to tolerate, choose to have in our lives, or that are given to us by God as part of a divine test. What does that mean? What does Rumi think about this? And what what can we learn from such perspective? We're going to discuss this in this video. So I'm not sure Rumi needs introduction, but I'm gonna give you one anyway to give you a fast, quick tour of his life. His full name is Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi Balkhi. He was born in Balkh, Khorasan, which is the big area in present day that encompasses several countries. I mean, Khorasan. Balkh is in this day and age in Afghanistan, but in Rumi's time, it was the Persian Empire, the big Khorasan. So his father was Bahauddin Walad, a distinguished Sufi and scholar. So he comes from a scholarly family. He was not like exceptional in scholarly terms. So the threatening Mongolian invasion in the year 616 Hijri, which is 1219 Gregorian calendar, propels his family into a nomadic stage. They travel this and that place. Finally, they reside in Konya, which is the present-day Konya city in Turkey, which sometimes brings about the confusion that Rumi is Turkish. He was not. He died in Konya. He was not from Konya or Turkey at that time, Ottoman Empire, whatever. So he inherited his father's religious role back in the day. His father was a scholar. When they came to Konya, Rumi got his father's role as a religious leader and a scholar and imam of the mosque. But the point to remember is that the threatening Mongolian invasion is only one theory among others. Like it's the strong theory why Rumi went to Konya, but there were other theories as well. But this one is stronger. So he delved into Sufism. There was another misunderstanding that Rumi was not interested in spirituality, interested in Sufism, mysticism at all, and Shams came and changed him. Yes, Shams left a remarkable mark on Rumi. He changed his life entirely, but Rumi was interested in Sufism and he was practicing that before. What Shams does, Shams just ignited that fire, the fire that was already there. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So he delved into Sufism deeply with his master Burhanuddin Termidi, which was his father's disciple, his father's student. He met Shams Tabrizi in the year 642, that is 1244 Gregorian calendar. Shams left around 1247, but again, Shams left Rumi twice. Like in the first instance, he left Rumi after some time and begging Rumi could bring Shams Tabrizi back from Damascus to Konya. He sent his son to bring Shams back, and they orchestrated a lordly travel and behavior, bringing Shams to Konya. We have discussed this in one of our episodes. Um, just to show his respect to Shams Tabrizi, Rumi's son walked the entire path from Damascus to Konya. That is impressive. So after meeting Shams, after his life turned upside down, he withdrew from public sermonizing. He trained spiritual disciples. He delved into spirituality. He was lost in divine love and intoxication. Um, he had this special emphasis on divine love. We have other mystics, they talk about divine love within Sufism, within Islamic framework, I mean. But Rumi could be rightly called the king of the metaphysics of love. And I have called him that in several of my papers, actually. He died in year 1273. So I don't think Rumi needs more than this introduction. All is good now. And wa alaikum assalam, people are typing comments. So let's just dive into it. But for those who joined late, let me just summarize, because hardships in life is a significant matter, especially in this day and age. We're going to have a series of videos discussing this, both in my episodes, which are going these days more math-navi oriented, story oriented than theme oriented. We're going to have another category later on, so wait for that. We're going to have different categories based on specific topics. Rumi on hardship, Rumi on the meaning of life, Rumi's teachings in today's life. What can we learn, and how does it work? Does it work at all? So yeah, today we're going to be discussing a very specific aspect of hardships, and that is the hardship that we choose to incur on ourselves, or we are. Can you give your bookshelf tour? Maybe in another video, of course. And you are welcome. It's my pleasure. So I can have another live giving you a tour of my bookshelf. Maybe at the end of this video, we will see how it goes. So wait until the end of the video. Wait until the video until the end of the live. So yeah, today we're going to discuss a specific aspect of asceticism, one that we incur on ourselves willingly. We put ourselves into difficulty, or God puts us under certain difficulties with certain purposes. Now, centrally, I'm going to talk about asceticism versus monasticism. We have discussed this before, but this is going to be a series. I have discussed it in another context with another person, but here I need to establish this groundwork to be able to continue this. So I'm going to read one paragraph. Please bear with me. Then I will be coming back to speaking. Rumi's asceticism is not monastic, Rahbani in Farsi. Instead, it balances moderate abstinence and worldly engagement, underpinned by the Quran and the Hadith teachings. Rumi underscores asceticism as an inner transformation rather than mere physical austerity. He doesn't say, go live on the mountain, don't eat anything, don't drink anything, don't do anything, just worship. He's not one of those Sufis. He had quite a social life, but we'll get to that. He emphasizes inner purification, self-transcendence, and spiritual detachment as routes to divine unity. Rumi's teachings are catalysts for profound personal transformation and a more fulfilling life in today's world. How does that work? We're going to talk about that. And happy Eid to you too. Thank you very much. Now, literally, the word asceticism is in Farsi, it's riyazat. In Arabic is riyada. So literally, it signifies the act of controlling animals, or trying to restrain the animals to block their random movements. You restrain them with something so that they don't go here and there, so that they're kept in the path they are supposed to go. Alluding to this, the word is used analogically. So it implies But before I explain this, let me put it this way. For those of you who are familiar with Plato's thought, we have several faculties in our from within us, like animal faculty, rational faculty, desire-driven faculty. These are also present in Rumi's thought, but in a somehow different way. Not that, generally they are there, but there are some subtle differences. So in the way we use the word riyada in Islamic mysticism, in Sufism, Islamic theology, and specifically Rumi's thought, is to subordinate your animal faculty to your intellectual faculty. Now, here comes kind of a difference between Rumi's thought versus other thoughts. So, in some other philosophers' thought, we say, okay, fine, that makes sense. We subordinate our animal faculties, our animal desires. I want to eat this. I want to have excessive physical enjoyments. I want to indulge myself in all the desires, excessive desires that I wish. But this animal faculty, the animal tendencies should be restrained in order to be traveling swiftly in this spiritual journey, and at least to be a normal human being. And by normal, I mean an ethical, moral human being. So here we subordinate this to rational faculty or intellectual faculty. And here is the difference. In some other thinkers' thought, the rational faculty is taken literally. It says, okay, go through logic, go through logical rules, and you will be ending up a moral person. Rationality alone is sufficient for morality. Well, Islam does not disagree mostly with that. There are different schools of thought, and some of them say no, some of them say yes. But generally, rationality is welcome in ethics, but it is not enough, and neither is is this the case for Rumi. So rationality, Rumi distinguishes two types of intellect. I am translating as intellect. He calls the first one aql and the second one aql. Basically, he used intellect or reason for the first one, and for the second, he uses the word twice to make a distinction. I'm going to call the first one reason, that is your reasoning faculty, your rational faculty. How are you so inspired from Rumi? At the end of the session, I will explain that. So we have this rational faculty. I'm going to call this reason. And in Rumi's distinction of the two categories, there is intellect of intellect. Aql. I am translating as intellect. Reason, intellect of intellect. So reason. My apologies. I have a cold, so my voice and conditions are not quite normal. But this is a friendly talk, so I sincerely hope that you excuse all these things. So in some philosophers' thought, we subordinate our animal tendencies, animal faculty, to reason and reason alone. For Rumi, it is not so simple. For Sufism, it is not so simple. It says, okay, rationality plays a big, important role, but reason alone is not enough. You need a higher faculty, and that faculty Rumi calls aql, and from the description that we see in his works, we understand that aql is actually a divine intellect, an enlightened intellect, a sacred intellect, if I may. So your normal rational faculty is the one that you use for your daily things, for your job, for your school, for your normal thinking, to be a philosopher. But the divine faculty is quite different. So what happens here is that you're going to you need to go through spiritual exercises. You need to cleanse your soul. You need to purify your heart so that the divine light sparks in your heart. Divine light opens up, radiates in your heart. Rumi has this specific poem about this. It says, "Rozan janam gosha dast safa, mirasad bi vasite name Khuda." It says, the niche, the door, the gate of my heart is opened, and I receive divine words, divine letters, with no intermediary. So what prophets have come to do is specifically this, to help human beings to subordinate their animal faculties to rational, and rational to divine faculty. I added that twist here. So you go through, and here is and again, another misunderstanding. People think that all Sufis reject the reason altogether. Yes, there are some Sufis who do that. They are harsh against reason, but Rumi is not one of them. Yes, he points out to the limitations of rational thought alone. He says, okay, you can use that. In several parts, he refers to using your intellect. He says, "Ey barodar, to hame andishe." Oh, brother, you are but a thought. You are but thought. You are but thinking, in my translation. So, you emphasizing your thinking faculty, but that is not enough. In the pursuit of divine knowledge, you need higher faculty. You need your heart. You need your soul's enlightenment. With that in mind, let's get back to our discussion. That was an important distinction. Uh, Now, in Rumi's thought, riyazat or asceticism is subordinating your animal faculty to your divine intellect, to your rational faculty, and up there your sacred divine intellect. And why do we do this? Because, says Rumi, intellectual faculty guides and tames the animalistic tendency, which, if left unchecked, may lead one spiritually astray. So, with this in mind, we understand that asceticism is not necessarily and exclusively something physical. So, you don't necessarily and exclusive. I'm not saying that he doesn't do that. I'm saying that he does. Asceticism doesn't mean that you must go through hunger all the time. You must live on a mountain in a cave. It's not so physical. It is, but physicality is only part of the matter. So instead, it entails the subordination of animal faculty to intellectual one. This is important, to direct the soul's faculties to the divine. By subordinating your animal faculty to the divine intellect, you are subordinating yourself to the divine will and your faculties to divine enlightenment. That's how enlightenment happens. But more on that later. We're going to talk about that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. In Sufism, asceticism or riyazat is called in Farsi called Jihad Akbar, in Arabic Jihad al Akbar. That is the great struggle. In Islamic thought, we have this concept called jihad. That is, you go to a war against those who have attacked the Islam prophet or Muslim land, whatever. In Sufism, we don't call that the great struggle. We call fighting your lower ego, your animal faculty, the great struggle. Everybody can go to battle. At least most people can go to battle. But very few, extremely rare are the examples. Extremely rare are those who have succeeded in taming their animal faculty. Somebody says Rumi's teachings are just like food for the soul. One should dwell deep into the teaching of Hazrat Rumi. And yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Thank you for your comment. Extremely rare are the number of people who have successfully battled their ego, subordinating it completely to the divine faculty. It's extremely rare. That's why it's called the greatest struggle, the Jihad Akbar. And so with so much so that this success in what is called killing yourself figuratively, what is called killing yourself, your lower self, your animal faculty, is called new birth or voluntary death in Islamic thought. Now, let's just recap this whole thing. We have been discussing this for like 20 minutes now. Just to recap, to give you a clear idea of what asceticism or riyazat means, please bear with me. I'm going to read one paragraph. Therefore, Islamic asceticism or riyadha is a deliberate and disciplined practice of self-restraint, abstaining from excessive material and sensual indulgence, and the endurance of hardships to promote individual growth, self-mastery, and spiritual advancement. This practice is characterized by austerity in appearance, don't be so flashy, manners and attitudes. You must have a pleasant manner. You must be a moral human being. Like the height of, in order to reach the height of mysticism, you need to have mastered ethics. You need to be a moral human being. So Sufism distinguishes itself from the traditions that advertise getting even outside ethics, outside the boundaries of morality to achieve enlightenment. Note that. Notably, asceticism encompasses resilience amidst hardships and detachment, fostering spiritual growth. Hence, we're gonna get into details. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we're gonna talk about another term right in the next slide. So, by the way, while I'm explaining this, I don't want this to be kind of a monologue, like I'm sitting here talking. I would love you to participate. So, if you have any questions, please drop it down. Write it down in the comment. I am reading all of them, and I will be answering them in between my sentences. Let's see if we have anything to answer. No, I have answered them all. Now, two important. So we said we go through these hardships, we go through these difficulties to subordinate our animal desires, our excessive desires to our divine enlightened intellect. What that intellect is, requires quite an independent discussion. I'm actually writing something about that, so there will be a video, but later on. So I'm not going to dwell on that so much. I'm going to dwell on two terms, two key terms in Sufism about tolerating hardships in life. One is zuhd, and the other one, riyadat, that we have been discussing. Zuhd and riyadat are interconnected, but they are different in some sense. Riyadat is more general, zuhd is more specific. Again, I'm going to read the definition. Zuhd, or as I call detachment, emphasizes relinquishing worldly desires, letting go of worldly desires to pursue spiritual enlightenment and I lost the line and divine approval. So you let go of the worldly attachments to satisfy God, to gain proximity. So as you may have already understood, this doesn't sound so different from what we have been discussing about riyadat. So we detach from the world to achieve a divine purpose. So we can group zuhd or detachment under asceticism, under riyadat. So to give you a full frame of this, riyadat provides a broad framework of disciplined living, uh, while zuhd is a vital component, only a part of asceticism. Asceticism does not necessarily, and let me put it this way, asceticism is not limited to letting go of desires, but letting go of desires is the part of asceticism. So it promotes detachment from worldly allurements. The practice of zuhd supports the objectives of riyazat. This is important. The practice of zuhd supports the objectives of asceticism by directing desire towards spiritual pursuits. You turn your attention to the divine. It's exactly this is what Plotinus discusses in Nats. Is to turn your thought, your attention towards the divine, and enlightenment will come to you. Through zuhd, through detachment, the disciplined lifestyle outlined by asceticism is enriched, facilitating a balanced engagement with worldly life and with spiritual disciplines. So again, important, pay attention here. When we say worldly detachment, I'm emphasizing Rumi and the mainstream Islamic mystics do not encourage living in a cave. Yes, going through modest, receiving modest amount of food, receiving modest amount of sleep, and other sensual desires in modest amounts is highly recommended. I don't think there is any tradition uh, going against this. Um, but the important thing is to balance that with the spirituality. So we are going to go through physical exercises, but hand in hand and together with the spiritual exercises. For example, in Muslim communities, we have this whole month of fasting. Up until several years ago, it was not quite popular. People were going against this, lecturing Muslims, oh, you're doing injustice to yourself. But just go to YouTube and just write intermittent fasting or fasting to see what is happening in the world. The whole athlete communities are recommended to go through fasting. That's how beneficial it is for your body. For a whole month, we go through physical difficulties, or every morning we need to wake up at 4 a.m., at 5 a.m. to say the prayers. Did God, was God not able to ask us to do that in the morning? I'm sure it would have been nice, like to wake up in the morning, have your breakfast, have your coffee, your system is up, then you start saying your prayers. But God said no, exactly at the time that you're sleeping. Like the moment the sleep is very sweet to you, you must be able to let go of that desire. You are taming yourself, your lower self, your ego at that moment. Every day, every single day of your life, you're bringing down your animal faculty, your desires, your excessive desires to sleep to get through that sweetness. You sacrifice that for a divine purpose. And so, as you can see, both physical and spiritual exercises, these two words are extremely important in order to understand why hardships, how hardships. That's why I'm going through so much introduction. Now, the concept of asceticism has Quranic roots. For example, in the second chapter of the Quran, I'm just referring to one instance, verses 155, 157, uh, three verses. We will indeed test you with something of fear, hunger, loss of wealth, souls, fruits, and give glad tidings to those who when afflicted who when affliction befalls upon them, they say, truly we are from God and unto him return. These are the blessed people. So God, according to Islamic thought, says openly and without refraining that we send you difficulties, we put you through hardships. Deal with that. There are some people who say, "Oh, if God did such and such, why did He put us under difficulty? Come and prove it to us." Well, first of all, God doesn't need to prove anything to you, and secondly, if that there is a discussion of how to prove God's purpose, well, His omnivolence and His goodness with with the existence of evil, that is us philosophers' job, not God's job to come and explain things to you. There's usually this misunderstanding among some rappers style, "Yo, God, come and prove, otherwise you don't exist," as if God needs to come and prove Himself. Um, so I'm gonna talk about problem of evil on another video. I'm actually writing a book about that, so that's a very interesting topic from Rumi's perspective and also in Christian thought. But I'm gonna end the bracket there. Just come back to our discussion. So God says openly that we put you through difficulties, we put you through hardships. You must be patient. You must exercise patience and remember where you have come from and when you where and when you will be returning to me. And these are the blessed people. That is the key part. So blessedness comes through difficulties. Key word, key sentence. Blessedness comes through difficulties in Islamic thought. And this is also the case in Christianity. For those of you who are not familiar, you may please read or watch a video about John Hicks, soul making theodicy. These two sister religions, Islam and Christianity, I mean, have similar perspective in this regard. For example, John Hick, like Rumi, like other Muslim thinkers, say, God puts you through difficulties. You're purposefully, as we saw in these Quranic verses, we are put through difficulties so that you gain spiritual advancement. You refine your moral character. So your morality as a human being is refined through these difficulties. Your soul is purified, is cleansed. Your heart is cleansed through this. So there is a dual part, as you can see. It's not just the spirituality saying, okay, you're going to do this in the other world, in the hereafter, you're going to get such and such. But it's also worldly. Like if you put in this perspective, see, in going through difficulty makes you more courageous, it makes you more moral, it refines your character. So even if you forget about the hereafter, even in this world, there is benefits to going through hardships. Please read about John Hick. I highly suggest that you do so. Again, the book that I am writing is specifically about John Hick's view on the problem of evil with that of Rumi. It's kind of a comparative work. By incorporating Quranic teachings, Rumi portrays asceticism as an integral component of spiritual development and a means to connect with the divine. Now, so much so for the introduction. How about some of Rumi's words? Um, there is this specific line. I love this poem. It's in Mathnavi, Book 3, lines 3390. He says, پس ریاضت را به جان شو مشتری چون سپردی تن به خدمت جان بری. Embrace asceticism with your soul deliberately. Choose to do so. Embrace asceticism with your soul. Its seeker be. Seek it. Once your body serves the soul, success you'll see. If you do this voluntarily, you're going to see that success even faster than what life would bring to you. There are some difficulties in our lives that have come to us without us choosing to have them in our lives, but there are also difficulties that we choose to have in our lives, going through ascetic practices, going through mild attachment, detachments, and these bring spiritual progression, spiritual nourishment. Asceticism, even when imposed by God, is critical spiritual opportunity that contributes to one's overall spiritual growth. Again, Mathnavi, lines 3397. Now, in a poem in Divan Shams Tabrizi Ghazal 1372, line 16, Rumi says, صد جان شیرین دادم تا این بلا بخریدم. صد جان شیرین دادم تا این بلا بخریدم. He talks about the difficulties, the hardship that he's going through. But he says, look, I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong. I have given hundreds of life. Important. I have willingly given hundreds of life just to gain that difficulty. You see, he's going to the doorstep of difficulty on his own will. He chooses to do so because he sees what lies beyond that door, what lies behind that door. Going through difficulty, let's say you're going to go from point 1 to point B. If you go in a straight way, you're going to get there in time X, but if you go this way vehicle, let's say you're going to get like with 3X, 4X, and what's happening here is this: live a normal, pious, religious life, fine, get your heaven, whatever it is that you're aiming, if that is your goal. Rumi looks down at such people and says, like, you're playing children's game, that you're just playing, God, I'm not going to do this, or I'm going to do this so that you give me your heaven in the hereafter. He said, okay, get through that. That is simple. But your speed is X. Your speed is limited. If you want to die to your animal self in this world and live to your divine self, unite with the divine, get enlightened by the divine light, by the divine intellect, you need to do something. My apologies. You need to do something extra, and that is getting rid of your animal self. Can someone please type whether you can hear me clearly? I dropped the phone, the camera. I'm not sure you can hear me. Please, someone write whether you can hear me well. I'm gonna continue. Yes, all is good. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Ahmed. And yes, beautiful light. I've given hundreds of lives, hundreds of my life just to gain this hardship, how important it is. I'm going to tell you an example here about a very famous spiritual master in the Shi'i mysticism. Well, Shi'i mystics are not so different in their path from Sunni mystics. There are some distinctions in general, but they have high respects for each other. So I'm not making any specific distinction here. But there is this specific mystic from Iran, Sayyid Ali Qazi. He was the grand master of several contemporary and modern Iranian mystics like Ayatollah Bahjat, like Allama Muhammad Hussein Tabatabai, and several others. Like Ayatollah Jawadi Amori, who is the contemporary philosopher, not just the commentator. He's a philosopher. He's doing philosophy, writing philosophy himself, not just commenting on others' works. So all these were the disciples of one master, Sayyid Ali Ghazi, Ghazi Tabatabai. He says while I was in Najaf in Iraq, he was having his studies there. He said I was going through lots of difficulties, but I was a little bit hopeless that God is not turning His grace on me, um, not with money, but spiritually. He says one day he comes to his home, he sees that his luggage is thrown out of his house. He was in a rental place because he didn't have the money to give the landlord for several months. Everything was poured out. Uh, like, let's pause here. What if we were in that situation? What would we do? What would we be doing? Oh my God, what is happening? Where is your justice? What are you gonna do? What am I gonna do now? What is my family gonna? He says there were people at that place at that moment who narrate this. He says he prostrated. He says, "Thank you, God. You haven't cut your attention. You haven't deviated your attention from me. You're still putting me under all these difficulties because of the grace you're going to grant me." So key relationship between difficulty in life, challenges in life, and spiritual enlightenment. Have that in your mind. Now, there is a magnificently beautiful line from Divan Shams Tabrizi. But before I read that line, I'm going to repeat again. If you have any questions, please write down. I will answer them. I don't want this to be just me talking. We can communicate. Rumi talks about spiritual stages, enlightenments, its beauty, the things that you get in this life, not always reserved to the hereafter, as promised for the only pious people. Mystics get it in this life. He explained these, but he cuts abruptly, and it's in Ghazal 959. Then he adds this line. He says, "Alik in sifat rahravan chalak ast, to nazanin jahani kuja tawani kard." He says, "Look, I said all these things, but this trait is for the nimble traveler, agile and bold. You, the world's sweetheart, where could you ever uphold?" He says, you have um, thrown yourself into comfort, into worldly desires, whatever your body wants. You wouldn't even understand what I'm talking about, let alone going through these stages. This path requires agility, requires courage, requires resilience, and only people who have these can walk on this path. I love this line. ولیکن صفت رهروان چالاک است تو نازنین جهانی کجا توانی کرد. You, the world's sweetheart, where could you ever uphold? Now, conclusion. A sub-conclusion. I'm going to read one paragraph. Please bear with me. While Rumi acknowledges the challenges associated with asceticism, he emphasizes its transformative power in purifying the heart and the soul and overcoming the lower self. To get rid of your animal self, to transcend your animal self, you need difficulties. That's kind of a boost for you, your extra speed. Rumi's interpretation of asceticism entails a purposeful, methodical, and world-affirming. He doesn't reject the world altogether. He criticizes world's limitations, but still he advises worldly living, a civic, social living, world-affirming approach to self-control. You're going to have self-control, but not in a mountain, in the society. Refraining from overindulgence in material and sensory pleasures, and tolerating adversities to foster personal and spiritual growth. Now, here's where things get more interesting. Here comes a powerful element that for Rumi is like an elixir, like a catalyst that makes this whole difficulty sweet, makes it easy to tolerate. I'm sure you can guess this. But before I do that, There's two questions here I need to answer. Are you Sunni? Well, we are all brothers, our Sunni brothers, and the Shia. I'm Shia, but there shouldn't be distinctions between the Shia and the Sunni right now in this day and age. There are differences, mostly related to 1,400 years ago. Yes, there are differences in jurisprudential, political, religious ways, but these are minor things these days, and we have much, much bigger problems to deal with than dividing among ourselves and just weakening ourselves in the face of you know who and what. Um, there are much more important problems. But no, I'm a Shia. I'm a 12er Imam Shia. I'm from Iran, but I live in Istanbul. Could you spell the name of the Shia master's name? I'm gonna write the name of the Shia master after the this talk under this video. But for now, AQA Agha Sayyid. I'm sure you can already spell that. Agha Sayyid Ali Ghazi, Ghazi, Tabatabai, Tabatai. If someone could please write down the name آقا سید علی قاضی طباطبایی. اگه فارسی زبانی تو جمع هست لطفاً اسم آقا سید علی طباطبایی رو قاضی طباطبایی رو می‌نویسید. ممنون. Sorry, I asked the Persian companions to write his name. But I will do so after the talk. Where were we? So asceticism refines our character and us spiritually. We refrain from overindulgence in material and sensory pleasures. But we said there is a powerful element there that makes this path sweet, makes the difficulties easy to tolerate, and that is divine love, which is highly emphasized in Christianity, but also finds eminence in Sufism with Maulana Rumi. Yet there are other mystics who talk about divine love, but Rumi brings it to the peak. میشه لطفاً انگلیسی بنویسید اون رو. They wrote the name in Farsi. They're gonna also write it in. I asked them to write it in English, please. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Now, and divine love comes here and makes this whole process sweet. How does that happen? For Rumi and for Sufism, love is the sustaining force behind the cosmos and the essential link within the chain of beings. Its absence could rupture this interconnectedness, this cosmic interconnectedness. How is it going to help us? To Rumi, love propels the spiritual journey and enlightens its challenges. Imagine this. Yes, exactly. Sayyid Ali Ghazi Tabatabai. Actually, I can give you an intro about that maybe in a post. Follow my posts on YouTube in community, or if you're following me on Instagram, I will put an Instagram post specifically about Sayyid Ali Ghazi. He was a very peculiar person. He deserves recognition, and somebody write the full name. Yes. Thank you very much. Follow me on Instagram. I will add an introduction. So what happens is, already following on Instagram. All right, I will add that post. And thank you very much for all your points. If you have any questions, just write them down. I will answer your questions. Like I said, I wanted this to be a conversation rather than just me talking. To Rumi, love propels the spiritual journey and lightens its challenges, underscoring love's role as the deriving force behind the seeker's journey and asceticism as the tool for transcending one's lower self. Let me translate that. Love fuels the journey. I'm sorry. Love fuels the journey, makes it lighter, and asceticism gives it structure. Asceticism puts the foundation on your path, creating your path, fastening it, and love pushes you in this path. You see how harmonious it is now. So it's not that you go through one challenge after another. There was a break after some point. You go through some challenges, but when you go through them, the divine manifests himself or makes you taste his love. And when you get that love, these challenges become sweet for you. These challenges become easy to tolerate. This is where Rumi's previous line makes more sense, doesn't it? He says, "Sad جان شیرین دادم تا این بلا بخریدم." I have given hundreds of lives myself to gain this difficulty. He has tasted divine love. That's where all these difficulties do not bother him that much. So there are some details I don't want to add to this part, because, like I said, this is going to be the first part of a series of videos on hardships in life. I'm going to get more in detailed in my discussions about current difficulties that we don't invite to our lives, like why is there cancer, why is there war, why is there suffering, and like mainly the problem of evil. Most of them can be handled from a theological perspective, and of course from a rational perspective. Read Plantinga on that matter. Plantinga has, I think, once and for all answered this question. The existence of evil in the world does not logically eliminate the goodness of God. There can be a good God and there could be still evil in the world. So, but there is one big challenge, and that is about the gratuitous evil, excessive suffering. Why is there schizophrenia in the world? Why is there animal suffering? Why is there people dying of hunger? Helpless people not having the power to defend themselves, being tortured for a long time. I don't want to give examples. Thank you, YouTube. But I think you can already imagine what I'm talking about. Why God allows such evil to take place? That is a challenging question. We're going to discuss these in the following videos. Let me get back to your questions. Will this be a weekly series? Yes, from now on, I will be having a live stream every week on YouTube. Hopefully, we can add another one on Instagram. So I'll keep you posted. Bookshelf tour. Thank you, Mr. Ali Khan. No. Is evil a perversion according to... Well, yes and no. The reason I'm hesitating is this. There are some people, mainly from Christian, not all Christians, but Christians who follow Saint Aquinas, who say, "Oh, the evil is the privation of the goodness." Fine, but it appears to eliminate the existence of evil as a force, as a being. The Quran, the Bible, the scripture talks about evil as a being with intelligence, a being with consciousness. So when we say goodness, evil is the privation of goodness, it seems to me that we are eliminating that. We are just oversimplifying the question. If we look at it from a theological perspective, of course not. When I say not, up to a certain degree, yes, sure, but that's not all. That's just an interpretation, just formulating the problem in a way that we can understand it. I don't think that is all. Theologically, I can give you references from both the Quran and the Bible. Text me on Instagram. Actually, I would be happy to write the lines both from Quran and from Bible. I can share it so that you can refer to them. No, theologically, we cannot say just the privation of evil. There is evil as a force. But here's the important part. There is a distinction that we haven't been discussing. When we say the problem of evil, we are not talking about the devil. The description that I just gave was about the devil. When we say evil, we mean pain, suffering, hardships, hunger, killing, torture. We call them these evil. Every unpleasant situation that goes against your will and harms you, and on your sound mind wouldn't want to choose to have that. When I say evil, I mean this. But at that particular question about the existence of devil, which is the privation of evil, no to that. But in terms of sickness, well, sure, we can interpret it that way. We can say there's goodness, there's health. When we take away that health, there is opposite to that. There is sickness. Well, yeah, we can interpret the important interpret this matter with our human discursive thought following words. Yes, in this sense, yes, but in the sense of the devil, the being, I don't think so. So was Rumi suffering from melancholy? No. How am I inspired by Rumi? Well, in Iran we grow up with Rumi's poetry. Sayyid Hossein Nasr always says this: if you just grab the hand of a mystic on the street in Iran and ask them for recitation of Rumi's lines, they would do that because we grow up with Rumi's poetry. We read it in the original language. We come from that culture, the culture from which Rumi rose. So you could say it's in our culture, but I was specifically interested in the elegance of his words, but more importantly, why Rumi? Because of his emphasis on love and because of his mild mysticism, his mild asceticism, his universality. There are certain Sufis like I love him, I respect him, like Sheikh Mahmoud Shabastari. I have created a whole playlist. It's available on YouTube about Shabastari. I have written 3 international papers about him. But he's an extreme Sufi. So his teachings are not mostly applicable in our times. But Rumi's teachings are. You can apply them into our life today, right now. And like I said, he takes religion and divinity and following God's words from the strict pious act and brings it to under the light and sweetness of love. It's not that I have to do something because it's God that ordered me. It's just that He loves me and I love the divine. I'm doing all these things, or I'm refraining from certain things because of that love. That is exactly why I'm doing this. Look how beautiful it is. Look how enjoyable the process becomes when you look at the matter from this perspective. Instead of that, me coming to say, no, don't do that. If I do that, you will gonna burn in hell. Come on. What God are you worshiping? Because I see people who do that on YouTube, on theological talks. Like, what God are you worshiping? What Quran are you reading? What Bible are you reading? Just look at the number of verses talking about grace, compare them to the number of parts God talks about hell. So no, it is the religion of love, not just Christianity. Islam is greatly misrepresented. If one understands Islam's inner aspect, spirituality, mysticism, Sufism, you would realize that Islam is also the religion of love. It's just misrepresented. So why Rumi? Love, gentleness, universality, applicability in our lives. Could not Sheikh al-Akbar be placed in a similar category of love? Well, of course, like, Ibn Arabi. I have a book about Ibn Arabi. If you're interested, the oneness of being in Ibn Arabi and Plotinus's thought, it's available on Amazon. Ibn Arabi is a magnificent thinker. He could be extreme in some sense, but generally he is also very heavy into love. Now, your thoughts on Imam Ghazali's work. My thought on Imam Ghazali's work is Rumi's thought on Imam Ghazali's work. He says Ghazali was the scholar of the world. He was a worldly scholar, but it's a pity that he didn't have love. And I agree with him. And I agree with him on not just Imam al-Ghazali, but on many other mystics without love, or philosophers without mysticism. So love is different. Follow Rumi, follow Ibn Arabi. You will love those. And I recommend Shi'i mystics because they are also very heavy on love. Follow the works of Mullah Mohsen Faiz Kashani. He's a magnificent scholar. a polymath, philosopher. He comes from Mullah Sadra's tradition. He was the son-in-law of Mullah Sadra. He was the student of Mullah Sadra. He comes from that philosophical perspective, that philosophical background and culture. He's a philosopher, a theologian, a Quranic commentator, a muhaddith, a poet. There wasn't anything, I think, back in his day that he didn't write upon. I have created 2 videos about Mullah Mohsen Faiz Kashani. It's in the playlists. Please watch those. You're going to love him. If I take the name of Mullah Mohsen Faiz Kashani from his poetry, I just read it to you here, you wouldn't even distinguish whether that poem is from Rumi or from Faiz Kashani. He's that beautiful. So he has that element of love in his poetry and in his mysticism. Follow his works. We have published 2 works recently. One of the papers is already online. It's in press, finished. I have added that to all my Rumi videos descriptions. The name is The Meaning of Life from Faiz Kashani's Perspective. The other one is in press. It's coming soon. If by the time you will be watching this, if it is there, the name is Immortal Words, Immortal Echoes, Immortal Words. It's about love, selflessness, self-transcendence from the perspective of Faiz Kashani. Amazing, amazing thought. I love him. Great questions. The most merciful, the most beneficent. Thank you very much for the point. Isn't Sheikh Al-Akbar work really complicated to understand? Yes, he is. He's not as straightforward as Rumi. So if you read Ibn Arabi is also like Rumi. They have like this powerful catch, the powerful hooks. I'm not talking about linguistic hooks or video hooks that are used in YouTube videos. I'm talking about the spiritual hooks. Like when you read something from Rumi, and you read something from Ibn Arabi, and when you read something from Faiz Kashani, this is the interesting part. You immediately feel something. I'm a scholar of philosophy, Persian poetry, mysticism, and Mr. Jules, I will answer a quick question in a moment, and philosophy of religion. And I've read many scholars, many Sufis, many Persian poets, but none of them could rise to the significance of Rumi's words, Faiz Kashani, Attar, and Ibn Arabi. They are completely different. They just grasp your heart and just take it out. You immediately feel their spiritual power. Are Kombark's interpretations worth reading if you don't approach them as authentic Rumi? No, not that they are not authentic Rumi books. They are good books. I have read them. There are many translations from Rumi, especially Mathnavi. Not Divan. Divan is not translated that much, but Mathnavi is. Mr. Bark's book is good. Read that. If you read Nicholson, read Barks. Off the top of my head, there are several good books, great books actually in English. I don't remember them right now. Text me on DM me on Instagram. I will. Please, someone remind me on Instagram. I will create a post about the English language sources about Rumi. I promise you that, but I made lots of promises today. I'm going to forget some of them. Please remind me on Instagram. Or if you're not on Instagram, please remind me in the caption, in the comments section, so that I do something about it. And Mr. Jones, you're welcome. Mr. Ali Khan, absolutely. And you're welcome in that regard. But we are almost done with our discussion about Rumi's perspective on the first part of Rumi's perspective on Riyadat. But for the next session, we're gonna let me give you a preview. He's going to actually we have waited this long. Let me give you some sweet parts. I can add some extra parts for the next one. There is this beautiful, amazingly beautiful line in Divan Shams Tabrizi, Ghazal 2757, line 2. He says, Pirast arus eish dunya, margash talabi agar setani. The bride of life's feast is old. Marry her, and soul and soon you'll wish her dead. It says if you consider wife, if you consider the world, the physical world, the material world, as a bride who's very beautiful in your eyes, but don't be fooled by the appearance. She's very, very old. If you marry her, you're going to divorce her very soon, or you're going to wish her dead. Very elegant poem. And yes, Sufi Path of Love by William Chittick, amazing book. And the other book by William Chittick, the Path, the Sufi. What is the name of the other book? The Sufi Path of Love, and the other one I don't remember. William Chittick is magnificent. Read him. Recommend 3 books to read at least once in a lifetime, according to you. Of course, again, I will do that. Let me finish this point. I will get back to you. Please remind me again. So, in another part of Masnavi, Rumi compares the world to an old sorcerer, a magician who casts spells on its inhabitants, captivating and leading them astray from their true path. That's a very interesting analogy. In another part of Masnavi, he likens the world to a mosquito's wing, so small, so insignificant. Does this mean that we should detach completely and radically from the world? Of course not. We have been going through this for an hour now. I will add more points in next week. Follow next week's live. There are important points next week. Another line from Divan Shams Tabrizi, he says, Damis dam dunya, kazve shahan u shiran, mandand chun sagandar, mordar ta begerdan. A snare is this world trap where kings and lions, like dogs, remained in a carrion up to their necks. The world is so enticing, is so charming to them that it puts you under illusion, captivates you, and puts you down. Even the kings and even the lions go down like dogs. So I'm gonna wrap this up because it is the prayer time in Istanbul. I think you're already hearing that. I would love to go further, but God is calling. So just to wrap it up, Rumi's asceticism in this stage of our discussion is going to get more general, more detailed. In this stage, Rumi's asceticism is not world rejecting; it is world affirming. He affirms our worldly life. He wants us and recommends us to have social life, to have a wife, to get married, to have sustenance, to be in relationship with other people, but in a careful, controlled way. You should be careful with whom you're communicating. You should be careful with whom you're getting married. You should be careful what you're eating. You should limit the amount of time you're spending with other people. Limit the amount of time you're sleeping. Limit the food that you're taking. All these sound beautiful. Nobody, I think, would disagree with these. That if you discipline yourself, if you discipline your life like this, even if you don't believe in spirituality at all, even in this world, you will see success. Imagine waking up every day, 4 a.m., having discipline, having proper nutrition, controlled proper nutrition, controlled sleep, controlled civic life, controlled social life, um, meditation, if not spirituality, let's call it meditation. Look how beautiful your life is. Now add religion, now add divinity, spirituality. It becomes even more beautiful because you're transcending that material-oriented life, and God will show His life, His love to you. When you walk on this path for some time, it's not just theory anymore. After some point, that theory is going to turn into practice. You're going to feel the divine love. You're going to feel something in your chest. You're gonna feel the cleanliness of your soul. You're gonna feel the cleanness of your heart, and beautiful things will happen. Not just theory. We're not gonna be just stuck with books. So, Rumi's asceticism is a combination of worldly life and worldly detachment, a balance of life and spirituality. I'm not gonna repeat myself more than this. I'm gonna come back to your questions. And then we're going to finish this week's talk. The Sufi path of knowledge. Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Ahmad. I love you for that. Yes, that's a magnificent book, both of them. Bookshelf tour. Sure, I will do that. God bless you, irregular viewers. This was absolutely thank you very much. I appreciate your kindness. I'm happy to have you with us. Can you please type where you are from? I cannot read your username. Mr. Ali Khan, I think, um, are you the friend from Egypt? Have you went to Konya? We are going very soon. We're having a trip there. Is there any question I didn't answer? Oh, 3 books. Yeah, number 1, Sayyid Hossein Nasr's book, The Garden of Truth. Amazing book. And the other 2, go with William Chittick's couple books, The Sufi Path of Love, The Sufi Path of Knowledge. If you want to read papers, not to promote my papers, but I have written a paper. We were having this discussion. We were having this discussion with Mr. Ahmed the other day on Instagram. I have written a paper exactly on this topic: worldly engagement or worldly disengagement, from the perspective of Rumi and Meister Eckhart. I have linked the paper under the description of recent videos in the Rumi podcast. Go there. The paper's name is Rumi's Asceticism Explored, a comparative glimpse into Meister Eckhart's thought. If you're interested in this topic, if you want to see an extension of what happened here today, this evening, I think that could help you in that regard. From the USA, my name is Najran. Will change my handle for the next year. It's very nice to host you here. Everyone, all people who commented, people who did not comment. May divine love guide your way, and may his light enlighten your path, whatever your path you're in, Christianity, Islam, any religion, doesn't really matter. We should be universalist these days. There are differences, of course. Each of us have this primary religion, but we should be respectful of the other religions, and they are all path of redemption. I believe that. So God bless all of you. Thank you very much for being with me this evening. You made this talk beautiful because it turned into a discussion, and that's, I love to do that every week. I don't want just me to sit here and talk because I'm already doing that in my podcasts. Am I not? So why bother with these lives? If you could share the podcast episodes, it would go a long way for the channel, for Rumi's thoughts, because there are lots of mistranslations, misquotations, misunderstandings about Rumi's works, because they don't read the original works, are they? They read from translations, they infer things from translations, and things, let's say, unwittingly come out not accurate. So given that I'm Iranian, I'm already co-hosting this podcast with another Iranian doctor, a specialist in Rumi and Islamic philosophy. She is a philosopher. We are drawing these interpretations from the tradition, inside the tradition, by Iranian Fars commentators, by Turkish commentators, by English works. We are reading them all and just bringing them the gist to you in those episodes. So I think Rumi deserves this, not just it's our videos, not just it's our podcast I want to promote with myself, but no, sincerely, Rumi is misunderstood and he needs to be understood well and properly. I'm doing my best. My colleague, Dr. Rehane Davoudieh Kahaki, is doing her best. And we would appreciate your help in spreading the word of Rumi so that others are also blessed and enlightened by his divine breath. Oh, bookshelf, before I go, sorry for that. I'm gonna do this the traditional way. How do we do this? Do we do this like, wait a minute, please. Now, these are for Faiz Kashani. Wait a minute. This is the Divan Ash'ar of Faiz Kashani, the mystic I told you about, the Shi'i mystic. Amazing poetry, amazing poetry. Maraj Saada is the ethical book
the book about ethics in Islamic thought. Nahjul Balagha is the book from Imam Ali, the fourth Khalifa, the Caliph of our Sunni brothers and the first Imam of the Shias. Of course, I can't go through all books, but I could do hundreds of books because you don't see the other part. But let me just summarize them. There is a great thinker in Turkey. If you can read Turkish, this book is from him, Professor Ekrem Demirli. He's an Ibn Arabi scholar. He has books about Rumi, a great scholar if you read Turkish. There's another scholar, again from Turkey, Professor Recep Alpiyal. He has a book about Rumi, Ibn Arabi. There's literally nothing I can remember in philosophy that he hasn't written about. Read his works. He's actually one of my advisors and supervisors, great thinker. There is this book from, again, Ekrem Demirli, Tasawwufun Altınçağı. It means the golden age of Sufism in Turkish. Let's move on to our Plato. I don't need to introduce him. Now, Fusus al-Hikam of Ibn Arabi. I hope you're seeing. Can I change the camera? Okay, terrific. I could change the camera. Okay, now I will make another video, but I'm gonna go the traditional way in this one. Fusus al-Hikam of Ibn Arabi. This is for those who can read Arabic. Allama Sayyid Muhammad Haydar Amoli has this book called Jalwe Dildar. The book is in Arabic. It's called Jam al-Asrar wa Manba al-Anwar. Amazing Sufi book, amazing Sufi book. And here he ties Sufism and Shiism. He says you should combine both of them. It's amazing book, read this. And of course, Sadruddin Ghawnabi's Miftah al-Ghaib, an interpretation of Ibn Arabi, an antique book. You're not gonna find it anywhere. It's about Ilahiyya Qawm Sha'i from Iran, so let me not bother explaining it. So you cannot find this anywhere. I have searched for years to find that. William Chittick's Introduction to Sufism, very good book, very good book. I recommended 3 books before. This is the 4th one if you're interested. Sharh Qaysari, Qaysari's interpretation of Fusus al-Hikam. Manazil al-Sairin of Sheikh Abdullah Ansari. This is a magnificent book. If you're interested in Sufism, it's the stages of spirituality in Islam. Read this book if you read Arabic. Irfan Islami is a contemporary one. This is a magnificent book about Irfan Islami, that is Islamic mysticism, but it's in Farsi. If you can read Farsi, totally recommend this, from Muhammad Taqi Jafari. You're not going to find these anywhere. I'm not going to introduce them, but this couple, Risalat al-Bilaya from Allama Muhammad Hussein Tabatabai, great Shia philosopher, Quranic commentator, mystic. God bless his soul. I've learned so much from him. And these go to the books from Allama Jawadi Amoli. His interpretation of Ibn Turki Isfahani. This is the interpretation, this is the collection of Shi'i hadith. And this little fellow here, together with other ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books, is Henry Carbon's Iranians Islam. So if you're interested, read that book, that book series actually. He talks about Iran's unique philosophy. I think it was written in French, then translated into English. That'll be all. Thank you very much, every one of you. I turned this into a dialogue. I'm happy about that. If you have any questions, let me know. Which one? Oh yeah, forget about that. No. Forget about that.
And if you have any questions, please send it to me. I'll be happy to answer. It was a pleasure being here. Next week, we're going to continue where we left off. May God bless you. Have a good day or night, depending on which country you are right now. And blessing to all. Goodbye. Why not Cyril Asrar? Talk to me on Instagram, please. I will explain it there.